Hello, Break 80 faithful. This is Tim here, and a very exciting interview with Haywood Golf's owner, Josh Haywood, or Joshua Haywood.
Either or is good with me. It's nice to join you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And a little bit of background on Haywood Golf, one of the largest direct-to-consumer golf brands in Canada. You're based out of Vancouver, correct?
We are, yeah. So we're definitely the largest in Canada. There's other brands have one has a distributor here, and then the others I don't believe are involved. But yeah, we're Canadian based here in Vancouver. Been in operation for 6 years now, and we're a global company. But obviously, being Canadian is something we're proud of, and definitely a big market for us.
Excellent. Before we jump into the company a little bit more, thoughts on the President's
Yeah.
Cup? Just came up, a couple Canadians in, and a Canadian captain.
hmm Yeah, I thought it was great. It was first day was definitely scary to say the least for the
I thought the
international
second day
team.
was
And
scary. The second day was terrifying.
yeah, but then they came back the second day and it was nice to see. And to be honest, I wish it was a little closer towards the end of the end of Sunday. But before Sunday started, it was almost over, so to speak. Like the international team would have had to do a lot to even have a chance to win. And so I really hope that next President's Cup they can at least bring all of the live players over, because I feel like it would have been a lot closer of a matchup if the likes of Cam Smith or Joaquin Neiman had a chance to play on that team. And yeah, there'll be a couple of extra U.S. guys too, but the U.S. team was just so stacked relative to the international team. So hopefully it's a little closer next time.
Now, I have one other thought that might have helped it be a little bit closer, and it has to do
Mm.
with the Haywood Club, right?
hmm
What I understand is those first wedges that you made, the ones
yeah,
that kind of started the company, were deemed as
yeah,
illegal.
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. So we made some non-conforming wedges. You could pretty much stop the ball dead or spin it back from almost any lie. It was a pretty cool club.
Do you think it would have still worked out of some of that thick rough that they saw at Royal Montreal?
To be honest, I was pretty shocked at how quick they were stopping the ball anyway. Especially the first 2 days. Obviously, it seemed like it firmed up over the weekend, but first 2 days they were stopping the ball dead almost out of the rough, and it was pretty shocking to see. I think obviously they got a lot of rain a couple days prior, but even watching yesterday and seeing like saw Wyndham Clark suck one back off of, I think it was the first hole, like 20 feet. Crazy to see with just normal wedges. So yeah, they probably don't need any of the help of the other ones.
Now, are those still in production with the company, or have you moved to all conforming clubs now? I know that was what year did those come out for you?
Yeah, we took those out a number of years ago just because there's different marketing that goes into non-conforming products versus conforming. And one of the biggest questions we had from as our customer base grew was, well, I play in local tournaments or I play in my club championship, and I need to have clubs that are legal to play. And so kind of took that out. It's always a question every year. We kind of always ask ourselves, like, should we bring them back? Because there's definitely people out there who don't care. They just want max control, max spin, because they just don't have that ability. And so it's always something that's at the top of our mind. It's just a matter of, like, how do we bring that back? How do we do that? And how do we market it effectively? And make sure that people can recognize that there is a difference. And that's kind of the hardest part, especially with a smaller brand.
And so you started off as wedges, and then you went into conforming wedges. Can you bring us through the history of Haywood?
Yeah. So the quick story of us is one day I walked into what the Canadian version of Golf Galaxy or Dick's Sporting Goods is just Golf Town. And um, I was in 2017 and was trying to understand why Vokey wedges specifically, because that's what I was looking at the time, kept going up in price. Like, not knocking any of their products, because Vokey makes, Titleist makes great wedges. Vokeys are great, but they're a cast product, so it's not like they're forged, which means that they're less expensive to manufacture. But every year the prices kept going up in the design, and really the technology didn't change that much. And so it's kind of a frustrating experience for me. Um, and wanted to understand what it took to make a golf club, what it took to manufacture one, what the differences were. And so, I spent a number of months going through that process and decided that we were going to focus on non-conforming just because it was more fun and different and something unique that didn't really exist out there. We focused on making our products forged because it was, a differentiating factor again from the majority of wedges out there are actually cast. So how did we make ourselves a little bit different in that case too? And so, we were fortunate enough that the timing was right, and people seemed to respond really positively to us and what we were doing on social media, and that's how we started. Instagram, Facebook, just talking to people directly, asking them what they thought, and when we sold out of that, then all of a sudden it was, wow, we sold out the first production run. That's great. What's next? And there really wasn't a thought of turning this into like a full blown golf company. If I'm being honest, at the beginning, it was more of, I just want to do something that's fun, that I like, that's, I'm interested in, and kind of see how it goes. And, fortunate enough that just over 6 years later, I'm still here and our business is growing.
Can you bring us through the price difference that you saw at the very start? What was a Vokey wedge uh, MSRP versus a Haywood wedge when they came out in 2018?
That's a good question. I want to say it was 189, 199. I think it was 199 Canadian. So whatever, at that time, the exchange rate, I can't remember, but just about $200. So I think the total with taxes and everything was like 675 for 3 wedges. And so when we first launched, our wedges started at $99 Canadian. So
Goodness, so
very
that's half the
inexpensive.
cost.
Yeah. So that was kind of the whole target was like, how can we make a product that's similar, if not better, in terms of material? I'm not going to say our wedges were better than Vokeys because let's be real, they weren't at the time. First production run ever. But they were forged. They had really cool grooves on them and milling. So, how do we make something that's, way more affordable for people to get their hands on? And so that's kind of where we landed. And obviously now with the wedges being conforming and inflation and costs going up, our wedges cost a bit more, but pretty much on par with all of the other brands that have increased their prices as well. So, our wedges now are $145 Canadian to start, and Vokeys are $239. So we're still about $90 less than the Vokeys, but we're forged.
Fantastic. And for those listeners curious, how often do you change out your wedges? The owner of not just a wedge company anymore, but a golf
Yeah,
manufacturing company. How often do you change out your wedges for new grooves?
not as often as I should. Um, I'm still one of those people that in my mindset is business first, and so um, you know, is it going to help me having, I don't play golf as much as I used to. So we were laughing about that with a couple of our guys the other day. It was because like I haven't changed my wedges out in probably 3 years. And so I just switched them out maybe 2, 3 weeks ago for the first time. And so, for me, it's a lost cost. I'm, purchasing it, putting it in my bag. I don't get anything out of it. So from a business side, it's always hard to, put those extra products in my bag when I don't need them.
Absolutely. And speaking of those extra products, you've moved on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just wedges anymore. And I don't know the timeline on these, but putters, iron sets, and recently fairway woods, metals, and drivers.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a full line of golf products now. So everything from putters all the way up to woods, drivers, etc. So we've launched a golf bag this year as well. So we have lots of customers who have kind of followed with us through their whole process of buying new clubs over the years and started with wedges and moved into irons, now woods, now bags. So really proud to kind of see that full circle of golf products come into our offering, and seeing customers now have everything from a putter all the way to a driver is pretty special to see.
What have you attributed that success to? Obviously, there's other brands, PXG, for instance, kind of a direct to consumer, but with storefronts. You've got Ben
Yeah.
Hogan that recently folded but was repurchased and may see a
Yep.
revamp here. Zebra putters coming back as a possible direct. Um, but your company seems to be a little bit of ahead of the curve, or at least survived a previous generation that failed. What's Haywood done differently?
I mean, for me, our whole point of our business was started to obviously offer more affordable products. But one of the things that myself recognizing that didn't really exist in the industry was really great customer service. Contacting a branch, like, try talking to somebody at one of the big brands. It's very difficult. Try getting, and I'm sure they've gotten a lot better, but I remember multiple times breaking driver heads and trying to get a response and it taking weeks and, sometimes into months to getting a new product or a warranty product. And so, that's one of our core principles as a business is like customer first. People get, dozens, if not into the 30 to 100 emails every day from customers asking questions, wanting to know more about our products, whatever their requirements are for information. And so our focus is like making sure we reply very quickly, making sure that we're diligent with how we communicate with them. Social media is huge for us as well, trying to be more personable with everybody, just, allowing them access to us, to our team, sharing what we do, how we do it. We're not really too hidden on our processes, and we're actually proud of how we design golf clubs, how we build golf clubs. Everything for us is custom built to spec. We're very proud of that. So I think it's just, making sure that everybody's aware of what we do, treating everybody with respect and in terms of their time as well, making sure we get back to them quickly. And I feel like a lot of companies still don't do that today. And I feel like that's definitely a differentiating factor outside of just, quality products.
Absolutely. You mentioned a little bit about being on social media. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder, as a company, a newer company in the golf space, what you
Yeah.
think the future of social media looks like for golf, and what the future of golf club manufacturing looks like in that space.
Two very good questions. Social media in the last specifically 2 years has changed significantly. There's so many YouTube influencers now or YouTube golfers. Um, while I definitely think there's a place for it, we're not really focused on that side of things. Some of the money that these YouTubers are getting from, some of our direct competitors just to say they're associated with their brand is astronomical. And like, we're not really in that business of just paying off people to say they like our product. So, while social media will continue to remain important and kind of a key factor for brands like ours to stay in touch with our customer, I think it's going to get bigger. It's just a matter of like which way that's going to shift. Is it going to go back to more traditional? Is it going to be back to or move forward into more people getting paid just to promote products, even though they, may not like them or use them? All of those things. I don't have a glass ball to predict the future, but I definitely think that staying relevant, producing good content is very important and always will be. Yeah.
So that's the future of social media as you envision it. The future of the company. You just launched the driver and wood set, obviously metal woods.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a bag coming out as well. Has that been launched?
It has, yeah. So
Okay.
we have everything now. Woods are in our first iteration, bag first iteration as well. But we're constantly just trying to release quality products. We're not really the same as any of the big brands where it's that every 2 years Ping is releasing new products. That TaylorMade now pretty much every year is releasing a new version. Titleist could be anywhere from 2 to 4 years, depending on which product. We're not like that. So, our signature irons were our first set of irons. It took us 4 years to produce another product that we felt was better performing, better looking, actually provided some additional value to our customer. And so, that's kind of our process is we consistently design products every year. And until we can make them and show an incremental change, that's when we'll come out with them. But Like our CBMB irons, for example, they've been in market for 2.5 years now. We don't really have any plans to update them anytime soon because they're a forge product. It's really hard to change cavity backs, muscle back irons to make them better. So if there's a look refresh in the future, sure. But can I say that there's going to be improvements on it? I don't know yet. It's just kind of the same thing as like Titleist hasn't released any new cavity back muscle backs for, I think it's 5 years now, 6 years. And so that's kind of the future for us. It's unknown. It's not like we have specifics to launch new products every year, just pumping stuff out just for the sake of it. We really focus on making sure that whatever we do release is quality, has the performance to back it up, and looks, feels, and sounds as good as any product out there.
I will say that there was one very unique product that you launched. And I shouldn't even say that it was one
Mm-hmm.
product necessarily, but it happened to be a
Mm-hmm.
coating on some of your products.
Yeah,
I saw that you did a 20, was it 24 karat gold coating on irons and putters and wedges there for a little while?
yeah. We still do actually a lot of custom products for our customers. So 24 karat was kind of cool. Definitely a unique experience trying to figure out how to get that done. And luckily, we had some great partners here in Canada that helped us achieve that. But yeah, we
How
do.
does that work? I'm really curious on this because I saw the gold putters and I thought, wow, I'm not a very
Yeah,
good putter, but at least I can miss in style. Um,
for sure.
does the gold stay on very well? It's got to be electrolysis,
Yeah.
or how does it stick and bind to the metal?
Yeah. So we have plating partners here in Canada that, I'm not fully technical in terms of that stuff. I know obviously that, the number of requirements to make it, but essentially there's, two different coatings of plating that go on it. One to cover up, everything that we plate starts with a raw finish. So there's no plating on top of it. Plates it exactly how, their requirements are. Some companies do it differently, but, a hard plating that allows it to coat, or sorry, to cover the raw, and then the coating plating that attaches and adheres to the first layer. So depends on how it does it. The gold definitely, I wouldn't say it's the strongest coating of all time. But we had customers who were playing them, the wedges for a year and a half and had no issues with them. Same with our copper plating. We get all that done for our wedges here in Canada. It lasts a long time. We do Cerakote, which gives you kind of different colors. So you can do purple, green, yellow. That coating does not last very long at all. On the face and the sole, like any contact points, any coating, doesn't matter what it is going to wear off over time. But the backside will primarily stay intact fully. So it still looks cool, but your face and your sole are obviously going to take most of the brunt.
Oh my goodness, are those customizations still possible through the website? The different colors, the different bronzing, golding, etc.
So we don't offer any of the customization off of the website. It's pretty much just, again, like yourself, you came across it one day, were interested, and wanted to inquire about it. We find that there's actually a lot of customers who like it, but not necessarily like the price points that go with that. And so we don't really have it as a general option, but definitely if a customer says, "Hey, I really want to get 3 of my wedges copper plated," no problem. So any of the real customized stuff is usually just one-offs that customers inquire about getting done.
I can guarantee, Josh, the minute I find a putter that works, I'm bringing it to you, and we're gonna do the design in a Haywood design of that putter, and it's gonna get gold plated because it's gonna solve
Love
the
it.
whole game.
I
That's
love it.
fantastic. Uh, it was mentioned in a different interview that when you first started, pick some items off the catalog, you've since moved into finding your own machinists. Can you give the listeners an idea of what the background of golf manufacturing looks like? Because I came from a medical background, and
Mm-hmm.
I know, for instance, Smith and Nephew actually uses 15, 20, 40, 80 different millers that have CNC machines, and they could be small mom and pop to
Yeah.
large manufacturing sites. All
Yeah.
of those screws, once they meet dimensions, will get sterilized and then be sent out as Smith and Nephew screws to go into whatever procedure it might be. Is it
Yeah.
similar with the golf industry? What does it look like behind the scenes for golf club manufacturing?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that people are I would say misinformation out there, and whether that's misinformation or just lack of education, is that all companies like us who are smaller pick out of a book or have open source tooling. And so that was definitely true when we first started because tooling is very expensive. So tooling is essentially the creation of your own product, your own design, and with that comes a significant cost. So when we started with our wedges, it was an open source, what's called open source tooling. So they already had the design of the wedge itself, but you could still customize it a little bit to make it your own version. So whether that was finishing off the sole, the grind, so to speak, whether that was changing the weight, like certain things that you could change a little bit. But for the most part, it's going to be very similar to whatever that original design was. Since then, though, obviously, as our company's grown, we've moved into hiring people who are a lot smarter than I am to help design and engineer our products. And so I know exactly how I want a club to look, sound, and feel. They help us achieve that. And so now all of our products that we have are our own tooling, our own internal design from our contractors that we hire that are a part of our team. And so typically what we do is we 3D print everything to start just to kind of see what it might look like. That's the quickest way to get, especially with metal based products. It's really hard to just create a tooling for a few $1,000s, realize you don't like the way it looks, and have to restart again. And so 3D printing has gone a long way. So especially over the last couple of years, we've been able to expedite that process a lot. And then we, have the tooling created, create our own product, so to speak. Not going to give away all the secrets, but in short term, that's kind of how we do things here now. And there's still a lot of direct consumer brands out there who only use open source tooling. It's the same product across maybe 6 different companies, same iron, same iron head, etc. And so I think too that's where we have a big differentiating factor for us with our own design team and engineering individuals that help us create the products that we need to create.
Your clubs themselves online had an enormous amount of customization too, from different shaft options, lie angles, um,
Mm-hmm.
different lofts. If I'm missing anything, I apologize. Different grips.
Mm-hmm.
Bryson kind of unlocked something new at the U.S. Open with a new level of customization, and you just mentioned 3D printing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see golf club manufacturing going as far as customization in the future? Obviously, we're set in our lie and loft angles right now, some different grinds for wedges, different shafts, different grips.
Yeah.
Um, and do you think it moves into this 3D printing era where you'll have something so unique for an individualized player as different concave or convex angles on faces?
Mm-hmm. Um, so answer is yes and no. Yes, if you are a pro player and have the same desire to go down the rabbit holes that Bryson goes down. No for the general market. So the mass market of consumers, until a time that 3D printing gets to the same cost or even close to the same cost as standard manufacturing, standard casting, standard forging. But Bryson set, my guess to make would probably be between $5,000 to $10,000 just to make the heads, if not more. 3D metal printing is not inexpensive. I'm sure that you could go overseas, get it done for a bit cheaper, but again, we prototype our new designs in metal through 3D printing, and it's very expensive. So I don't think it's a cost-effective option as of yet. Could it be in the future? Sure. I don't know. I'm not an expert in what the future holds for that side of things, but I definitely think if you have more players like Bryson who have the bankroll to say, yeah, I want to spend 5 or 10 grand creating my own custom set because of X, Y, and Z. Sure. I don't know too many pros like him though. I've met a lot of PGA Tour guys, Korn Ferry guys. Most of them don't really have that same desire to know what goes into manufacturing. how can they make their golf clubs better? The bulge and roll aspect that he created on the irons is definitely interesting and unique. I'm very curious to, potentially test something like that in the future because I think it's a first of its kind. Bulge and roll is primarily just for woods. So bringing that thought process into irons, which nobody's really done before, is a very unique process. But I think that there's going to be some positive and negatives that come out of that, and I don't know that it's going to be as beneficial as everybody thinks it is. So I could be wrong. We'll see. Only time will tell if all the manufacturers start going down that road of, if you see TaylorMade and Titleist and Ping starting to release bulge and roll irons, could be very wrong. But we'll see.
You mentioned overseas more for production. I'm curious, are there places, where's the furthest place that you recall shipping some of the Haywood clubs to so far? Are you a global club manufacturer shipping to as far away as Australia? I think that's furthest point. I can't imagine they're playing in Antarctica.
Yeah, I mean, we're about 10% of our sales are outside of, so, you know, about 70% of our sales are North America. 20% would be kind of UK, EU, and then 10% global. So we've shipped tons of golf clubs to Australia, to New Zealand, Alaska. I mean, not that Alaska's far, but, up north. So it really just depends. I'm trying to remember. I think Isle of Man was one of the more interesting ones. Yeah, so it's always cool to kind of see different countries come up that have never come up before. But I think we're at, like, I don't know, I want to say like 70 something countries so far. So a lot of those countries don't golf. So we'll see kind of how quickly that list kind of grows.
Excellent. And people can find you at haywoodgolf.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, haywoodgolf.com for our website. All of the associated social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. I'll just /Haywood Golf.
Excellent. Anything else that we can add to this interview? Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the time, and no, I think it's it's always great to kind of share our story and have people just become aware of us. It's the awareness side is the first step, and then hopefully people want to reach out, and we'll be happy to talk to anyone and everyone who wants to learn more about us.
Well, Break 80 faithful, there you have it. Haywood Golf, Josh Haywood, and about half the cost of your typical Votiki wedge. You've got irons. You've got both a muscle back iron and a foam filled iron. I saw a couple different putter varieties and a variety of different woods out now, including a driver, 3 wood and 5 wood, I believe.
Driver, 3 wood, 5 wood, 7 wood, 2 different hybrids as well. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Al at haywoodgolf.com. Josh,
Yeah.
thank you again for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.